Most business owners I talk to think a ransomware attack is just this sudden, unavoidable disaster. Like, you walk into the office one morning, grab your copy, sit down, and absolutely nothing works. But honestly, that's a dangerous misconception. And today, we're going to challenge that idea directly.
We really need to reframe how we think about this. The myth we've all been sold is that ransomware is a single, chaotic moment. But the reality? Ransomware is a process. By the time your files actually get encrypted, an attacker has already been quietly sitting inside your network for days, sometimes even weeks. And believe it or not, that is incredibly empowering news, because since it's a multi-stage process, every single step is an opportunity for you to step in and interrupt the attack before any real damage is done.
So here's the roadmap for this explainer. We're going to walk through 5 logical steps today. First, understanding ransomware as a process. Second, spotting the silent breach. Third, containing lateral movement. Fourth, stopping the final payload. And finally, building your proactive resilience rhythm.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1. Ransomware is a process, and understanding the attacker's journey. See, modern ransomware groups aren't running those quick smash-and-grab operations we saw 10 years ago. They are incredibly patient. If you look at the attacker's journey, what security folks often call the kill chain, they have to gain initial access, establish a foothold, run internal reconnaissance, move laterally across your network, and then prepare for the strike. Notice how encryption is stage 6? It's the very last step, not the first. Standard antivirus focuses on stopping encryption, but honestly, by then, the real damage is done. The key here is catching them in stages 1 through 5.
Let's ground this in reality with a real-world example. Take Clearview Accounts, a 60-person practice over in Manchester. An attacker hit their remote desktop portal with hundreds of failed attempts before finally guessing a password and logging in at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. Because let's face it, attackers rarely respect the weekend. Now that attacker then lurked in their systems for 19 days. 19 days just mapping out file shares. But the encryption? It never happened, because that anomaly was spotted during a routine check. SOA structure stops the attack, not some massively expensive software. Which brings us to Section 2, spotting that silent breach and the power of early detection.
So how do you actually spot an attacker during that quiet preparation phase? Well, they leave traces. You just have to know to look at your logs. Let's contrast normal staff behavior against a compromised account. A normal user typically logs in between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. from the UK, accessing their usual, say, 3 folders. But look at the compromised account. It's logging in at 2:47 a.m. from overseas and suddenly accessing 14 different folders across the entire network. The account name might be exactly the same, but the behavior? That is a massive red flag.
And spotting these red flags doesn't require a giant enterprise IT team. Clearview accountants just set up a really effective 30-minute Friday routine using a simple checklist. They literally just look for odd login hours, abnormal folder access, and any signs that security logs were being tampered with. Using this exact checklist, they found a dormant contractor account that was quietly poking around their client database, and they shut the whole thing down in 10 minutes flat.
Moving on to Section 3, containing lateral movement, or in other words, stopping the spread.
Okay, so once an attacker has a foothold, they want to spread out. They want to move from a standard low-value laptop to your core servers, the systems holding the keys to your business. Now, a lot of small businesses run flat networks, where every device can just talk to every other device. For an attacker, that is an absolute playground. The fix here is network segmentation. In plain English, this just means dividing your network into separate, isolated zones. Think of it exactly like fire doors in an office building. The doors don't stop the fire from starting, but they absolutely stop it from spreading and taking down the whole building. Alongside those fire doors, you want to create an environment that is actively hostile to attackers. You do this through a concept called least privilege, which basically means giving accounts access only to the files they absolutely need to do their jobs, nothing more. Combine that with honey tokens. Honey tokens are fantastic. They're just fake files or folders planted on your network that no legitimate staff member would ever have a reason to touch. If anyone or anything accesses them, it triggers a silent alarm immediately. Clearview actually put this into practice. They segmented their client-facing server, disabled 43 old, dormant accounts, and planted 3 honey tokens in accessible parts of the network. A few months later, one of those honey tokens was touched. Now, it actually turned out to be a forgotten, authorized penetration test by their IT provider, but the defense worked perfectly. The alarm fired off within 4 seconds of that fake file being accessed.
All right, Section 4, stopping the final payload. This is your last line of defense before encryption.
But what happens if an attacker somehow manages to slip past those earlier defenses? Well, in the final minutes or hours before they launch that encryption payload, they get desperate and they get noisy. There are 3 unmistakable warning signals you need to watch for. 1. Your routine backup jobs suddenly start failing. 2. The deletion of volume shadow copies. These are just quiet backup snapshots that Windows keeps automatically, and attackers always try to destroy them first. And 3. Mass file renaming, or huge amounts of data be moved outside of normal business hours.
The absolutely crucial point here is that when these late-stage signals happen, human reaction time is just too slow. You need automated isolation. This means setting up a playbook that instantly triggers network containment the exact moment that pre-encryption behavior is detected. You don't wait for a human to approve it. You sacrifice a small segment of the network to save the entire business.
And again, this isn't hypothetical. Clearview configured an automated alert for mass file movement. At 1:14 a.m. on a Tuesday, an attacker who had been silently hiding in their network for 11 days finally made their move. The automated alert detected the mass file movement, and within 3 minutes, the server was isolated. The payload was stopped dead in its tracks. Clearview's total data lost? Absolutely 0, and they were fully back up and running in just 4 hours.
Which leads us to our final section, Section 5, your proactive resilience rhythm and moving to readiness.
That success story really proves why we need to shift your mindset. Move away from just hoping you don't get hit and start building a practical rhythm of defense that makes you a very difficult target. Building this rhythm comes down to 3 actionable steps any business can take. First, treat threat hunting as a routine habit, just like that 30-minute Friday log review we talked about. Second, make sure your tools are upgraded for modern threats. Attackers are releasing sophisticated ransomware as a service kits now. You really can't fight today's threats with 2018's tools. Third, build a simple, 1-page response playbook. Write down exactly who to call, which systems to isolate, and where your backups are before an incident ever happens.
And listen, if you're sitting there worried about enterprise-level complexity or some massive cost, consider this. Clearview achieved this total operational resilience for just an extra £180 a month in monitoring with their IT provider. It is incredibly cost-effective to be prepared.
So let's recap this 5-point rhythm that you can literally start applying this week. 1. Know the kill chain. Remember, encryption is the last step. 2. Watch for early signals in your logs. 3. Contain lateral movement with fire doors and honey tokens. 4. Automate those pre-encryption alerts for backup failures and mass file moves. And 5. Build a rhythm of weekly and monthly checks. You truly have the power to stop ransomware before encryption ever happens.
To end this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. I want you to think about your current backups right now. Can you actually recover? Prove it. Don't wait for a 2 a.m. alert to find out if your systems actually work. Go test your restoration process this week, build your rhythm, and take control of your network. Thanks for joining me.